Hello, dear listeners. This is Tosca at NGO Soul and Strategy. We're about to dive into another thought-provoking episode about the topic of innovation and how to lead innovation in nonprofits and NGOs. But before I do that, I want to share some news with you. I am ending the podcast in October, November of this year. The rest of my thought leadership will definitely stay in place. My services as a consultant, coach, and team coach will continue normally. But there's a couple of reasons why, after a good run of 5 years with this podcast, that I'm bringing it to a close. I have thoroughly enjoyed hosting this podcast. I've learned so much from all my guests, and hopefully you feel the same when you are listening. However, it's also a lot of work, and I am getting a little fed up with constantly having to work so hard to keep all the balls in the air, if you will, being frequently over programmed. Secondly, it costs money to produce the podcast, and I don't have to tell you the sector is going through a difficult time and a very uncertain time financially. And that is true for us consultants, coaches, and team coaches as well. So I need to economize. Therefore, we will stop in October, November, but don't worry, the 90 plus episodes will remain available wherever you get your podcast. And we have a few more good ones to come, and today is a very special one for me. I am not an innovation specialist. I have no background in foresight or future insight approaches other than in the basics of strategic planning. However, I've been interested for a long time in how nonprofits and NGOs tackle their felt need to get better at being innovative. And I mean that not just in terms of programming, although that's obviously most important, but also as an organization, their organizational systems and processes, their policies, their structures, their people, etc. It can be a struggle. And how leadership can build a more innovation-friendly culture is very much of interest to me. And then I met Carlos Simon. He is the CEO for World Vision Costa Rica, and he also leads the work in World Vision on iSmart 360, which I will ask about in a moment. And I've really enjoyed my conversation with Carlos about this topic, and he's writing a really interesting article about this that I want you all to read when it comes out. So with that, welcome, Carlos.
Hi, Tosca. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today.
It is my absolute pleasure to have you because I think you have a really, really good feeling for what it takes for a nonprofit or NGO to develop a more innovation-friendly culture. So we're going to mine your thinking on that. So listeners, Carlos Simon is, as I said, the CEO of World Vision Costa Rica and also of iSmart 360. In a moment, I'll ask you what that is about, Carlos. He was the director for data science, which I think is interesting in World Vision, the fact that you were already strongly focused on what the data actually say about effectiveness, right? You were a regional director for business development and marketing in World Vision, and you've played a number of other roles. And that, by the way, made me interested, Carlos. You've worked in World Vision for 25 years or longer. And so I think it's interesting to see that somebody can be in an organization for a long time and still have that openness and looking for what needs to change and what needs to innovate. So maybe I'll start with a quick question around what is iSmart 360 and how do you respond to my thinking around having been in an organization for a long time, yet being completely open to how innovation has to happen?
Sure. Well, iSmart 360 is a platform and based on learning for the kids, e-learning for the kids. And we are looking for to connect new generations in different ways. the main thing in iSmart is to connect people to another people. For example, connect children from Peru to Costa Rica or another countries, because it is a great opportunity to have this kind of interface with all these kids. In another hand, we identified the possibility to create something for kids, not necessarily in the vulnerability situation, in the traditional and classic situation. It's about the digital vulnerability, our contribution, and we want to connect from rich people to poor people in a secure and funny platform for kids.
Okay,
And the results could be shown to the parent or the relative.
I see. And maybe I realize we need to take one step back before we continue. World Vision is a very well-known large NGO or nonprofit, right? Known by many people in the NGO sector across the world, but also by many small donors, right? But
Mhm.
still, for the very few people on this globe who don't know about World Vision, can you just in one or two sentences, what is the mission of World Vision and what is the nature of World Vision in terms of your faith-based background?
Perfect. It's about World Vision is about human transformation around the world. This is the main DNA of us. We want to change the world with it's the methodologies and support different kind of people around the world. In Latin America, we have a focus in child protection. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we are talking more about climate changing and it's the possibility to serve another kind of it's the vulnerability communities.
I see, I see. Right. And so World Vision, is it fair to say that World Vision globally is focused on child well-being, right?
Exactly.
Right? And as a faith-based organization, you are an evangelical Christian international nonprofit, correct?
Yes.
And your size globally is roughly, just to give people who don't know World Vision, what is your annual revenue globally, the whole organization?
Like
Three
$3 billion.
billion US dollars. I just want to make sure that our listeners are aware of
Mhm.
that size element. Now, your role, you are the CEO of World Vision Costa Rica, but over and beyond that, you've been really thinking a lot and leading innovation in World Vision's Latin America and Caribbean region, and maybe even globally. Why are you so drawn to the topic of innovation? Why is that so of interest to you?
Well, we need to change like a third sector. Um, During the last year, the global technology and the rhythm of the humanity is quick. And we need to change the velocity that we are supporting our communities and the possibility to serve in different ways. Because of that, I identified this topic about innovation that crucial for World Vision because we need to identify new ways to serve. We need to identify new processes within us to change the way that we are doing the things and to be relevant at the end
Mhm.
to these the people from the perspective of the donors and from the perspective of the communities that we serve. And I connect both sides and look for new ways to doing our business and to create value at the end in this value change from the perspective of donors and communities.
I see. Why is relevance at risk for World Vision in Latin America and the Caribbean?
Well, the vulnerability is about. more in terms of climate and protection,
Mhm.
because the violence that we live in Latin America, we increase our numbers each day, each year, from the perspective of the last 10 years.
Mm,
And the problems in terms of education and the vulnerability that are connected with this kind of topic are crucial in terms of the violence that we live, and we need to change that.
I see. Yeah, that's a clear answer. Carlos, can you give us some examples of major innovations that you have been instrumental in, that you have led or contributed to in World Vision's Latin American Caribbean region or beyond globally?
Yes. Well, we developed the concept of iSmart 360 in that way, and we received an award, a global award, of our partnership the last year, as the main contribution in terms of innovation to the World Vision Organization around the world. This is the first. The second is about digital. I believe that we need to connect more in that way, connect the technology and the digital world in different ways. We create ternurarte.com. It's a platform to connect women to different kind of messages, and e-learning, to protect children and different ways to talk. And then we led the process of innovation in World Vision Costa Rica to redesign the whole ministry model, because we need to raise money in different ways, not the traditional, and convert this national office in a self-funded office.
Mhm.
Because this is the main challenge that we face,
Yeah.
because it's not easy to raise all the funding within Costa Rica and with a local effort. And this kind of redesign was useful for another countries. For example, I contribute with Albania,
Mm,
with South Africa, and with Romania in different ways to be in the path to be sustainable
yeah.
with their own funding.
I see. So this is where the national offices and or in some other nonprofits have different names for them. They have to become financially sustainable, and you have contributed towards that. Now, just for our listeners' sake, those who don't know World Vision, right? So when you use the word partnership, the global partnership, that means the global World
Organization.
Organization, right?
Exactly.
And when you use the ministry model, can you just explain? I think I know what it is, but I want to make sure my listeners know it. What is the ministry?
Sure. Sure. The ministry model for World Vision is the business model at the end. It's how we connect our donors with our impact and transform that in value.
Donors to impact and transform value. Okay, got it. Thank you. Helpful. All right. So you just mentioned some innovations that you have clearly contributed to, or you have started them, you have led them, etc. Tell us, we know that when we try to innovate, we are bound to make a lot of failures, to experience failures, right? Or partial successes, not full success. And this is
Mhm.
normal. It's hard. I know it from my own experience also, but it's normal. What can you give an example of one or two failures that World Vision, things that it innovated around that were not a failure, and how you measured that it was not, that were a failure, sorry, that were not a success, and how you measured that and what you did to bring it to a close?
Okay. Well, like you said, the failure is part of innovate, and 90% of the ideas go to the failure.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
at the end is in that way. I remember it's some part of our history, then we construct a great campaign connecting digital world with technology, with great messages, but we didn't connect the the audience in each country,
Mhm.
like a different kind of audience. We assume that all the message will be the same,
I see.
and the result was awful at the end, because we recollect an thousand of bad comments around
Mm,
some messages, because it's not culturally connected with the
right,
reality of each country.
right.
And we discovered that we need to think around digital like a world, it's the connection, but we need to customize all the
Yes.
things for each country, because it's totally different. And it is part of the failure process, that you are trying to look for new innovation and to look new solution. After that, we create a great campaigns and with a great results. In this example, we achieve great results in terms of reach, but bad results in terms of added value to our business model.
Mm,
And it's this kind of disconnections is what was awful in that moment.
I see. So you said we actually, in this case, developed some reach, but it did not support the business model in the end. Right.
Exactly.
And we know from, when I read about innovation in the private sector, for instance, we know that killing projects, killing innovations can be a hard thing that many organizations resist, right? How do you think in World Vision, how good is World Vision in killing innovation projects?
Good. Uh, at the end of this kind of situation, we have two things to balance. The first is about the resources that we use to test and to develop the innovation. And the second part is the time that you still have to show results.
Hmm.
As a third sector, we have problems in the funding and the time,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to convert quickly in terms of results. But innovation not always is in that way. We need to invest time and we
Yeah.
need to invest money.
Yeah.
Um, it's a cultural topic, to balance the thing, because sometimes we have the resources to maintain, but we need to have the correct mindset
Mm-hmm.
to support all this process and to be patient during the process, with the mindset that could be a failure at the end, but could be a great project, and have the possibility to scale up to another thing and all the things. And we need to balance at the end the full thing.
And that is a hard balancing act because, on the one hand, I hear you say we need to give the innovation initiative enough time and resources. At the same time, we don't want to become reticent or reluctant to stop a project because we've already invested a lot of money in it, right? So that's a judgment call. How,
Exactly.
what, in your experience, what is a good practice around that?
Uh, Begin small
Yeah.
and give feed, yeah, and food during the process to scale up.
Hmm.
Sometimes in my own experience, when you invest a lot from the beginning, the
Yeah.
risk is to fail is in the same way. And it's
Mhm.
better to have a small test And during the process, you have the possibility to increase the investment, increase the time, and the results. It's not the best way in terms of the third sector, because sometimes we want to receive all the money from the beginning, all the impact from the beginning, but it's true at the end. We need to test in a small space, and then we have the possibility to increase.
Mm.
And the another part of this is to have a clear and shared purpose, that this is my why we are doing this. If you are trying to develop something, but you don't have a clear why, at the end will be a failure.
Yes.
It's not possible to have success in that way.
Yes. I've also read and heard innovation coaches talk about the clear why, as you said, but also that it needs to be attached or it needs to be linked to a strategic objective, right?
Exactly.
And and to a business model, so that it sometimes when nonprofits try to create an innovation friendly culture, they basically say let 1,000 flowers bloom and we'll see what happens. But that is not, there's no boundaries around what innovation should serve, right? Any observations on that? Like, you have to provide some freedom, but there still need to be some boundaries within which the innovation has to serve something.
Yes, totally clear in that way. We need to have these boundaries. And remember something that I learned during this process. The innovation occurs when you have a crisis. It's not necessarily in peacetime. Occurs
Ah.
when we have a crisis. And the innovation occur in the border, not necessarily in the center and in
Mm,
the core business,
mm,
because the core business is in crisis. Eh, and you need to be in the border. And because of that, you need to have these boundaries, but with the mindset that you are in the border of your business model too.
mm.
And you need to move the business model to another is the ways, another mindsets, another behaviors that you are discovering during the process of innovate.
That's really interesting. So I want to move more towards, you've mentioned mindset now twice, and behaviors, and that's exactly where I want to go with this conversation, right? So wrote a very interesting draft article that you were kind enough to share with me about where organizations or units within a nonprofit, let's say, can be placed on a spectrum, right? You have a spectrum in terms of innovation culture that is goes all the way from being in a dead zone for innovation to a bureaucratic wall, slow operations, survival mode, dormant potential, prototype mode, and total transformer. We don't have time to go through all of these stages, but tell us why you decided to develop your framework this way, to talk about these stages. And they're probably not linear. And then, but for each of the stages, you have some do's and what to avoid. So talk us a little bit about the logic behind that framework.
Yes, when I began to think around this index, I believe that we have stages. Not always all the team are in a transform innovation people, or not always are in the dead zone.
Mm.
It's, we have different stages, as you said, and I believe that each stage needs to have different kind of mantras, for example.
Mantra.
Uh, yes, for
Mm.
example, if you are in the dead zone, the mantra could be reinvention. Reinvention isn't an option, it's the only way to survive. But if you are in the last part of the stages,
Mm.
the mantra is what works and how we can scale that. And
Mm.
that kind of innovation is totally different because it's from the survival mode to is to change something and to continue scale the process to another things.
Mm.
And when you are in the last part of this total transformer, you need to have change the way that you are innovating because at the end you are in the ranking in the first part of the ranking. You are the top, and you need to set up different kind of the team,
Mm.
different kind of investment that you are connected with the process, and it's this innovation is not the currently business model as usual. You need to invent another kind of models at this moment. And because of that, I to develop this framework because I believe that it's different stages with different moments and different contributions.
Different contributions. Just to give a flavor of one more stage, why don't we pick, I'm just going to pick one, dormant potential. Give me one or two do's or don'ts for when a unit is in a dormant potential. I don't know what it's recent that you worked on the article. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, don't worry. The main mantra in this stage is the best time to act now. You have the possibility to do innovation, but it is possible that you don't have the correct crisis to explode this innovation, and you are in a flat mode
Hmm.
that you have the resources, you have the team, you have something good to innovate, but it's not necessarily the time is to innovate.
Hmm.
The centralization of all decisions could be in the leadership, and you need to spread to the rest of the team. And if you have this spread, you could be have a great ideas to create something, but you don't have the decision to act in that way. And because of that, it's a dormant potential. You have the potential, but it's in a sleep mode.
I see the sleep mode. Yeah. And so we can't go through everything um, in the article, but let me ask you, um, is the article already in a state where we can attach it to the show notes for this podcast episode? Or do you say, no, the audience will have to wait? But if they follow me on LinkedIn, then I will announce it once it's published.
It could be in this podcast, the first edition. I am working on that, but the main topics, the main things that identify each stage
Yeah.
is already for sure and
Okay, so you
could
can
be.
share that, then we would love
Mhm.
for you to send it. I know I read an earlier version, but I want to make sure that we attach the right version. So
Sure.
dear audience, I strongly recommend that you read Carlos's piece, this first edition, because it's well worth your time, particularly if you aim to manage and lead innovations in your nonprofit. Okay, let me move to a couple of factors, obstacles for adopting an innovation-friendly culture that other innovation leaders or coaches have told me about, right? Um, so I'm going to just call out a few factors and ask you to respond. You can pick up any one or two. Some people say that one of the obstacles for becoming an innovation-friendly culture is that leadership may have an overconfidence in their ability to project what's going to happen in the future. right?
Mhm.
I'll mention one more and then you can react to any of those. And there are many others, but some are observing in the nonprofit sector that we have a hard time when we are coming up with a prototype, say for a new innovation, that to stay focused on, is this innovation actually desirable? Are there buyers? Are there doers? Are there payers? Right? Is it desirable and on the side of the core clients, if you will? And is it viable? That instead, nonprofit leaders tend to start thinking too soon about technical, legal, or compliance factors. I'm
Mhm.
wondering if any of those two observations resonate with you.
Well, if you want to innovate, you need to foresee future. It's critical. It's not about to do something that occurs at now. It's to
Mm,
foresee future.
mhm,
Um, and this is the first is the obstacle because the leadership wants results now, and you are trying to construct future.
mm,
And the strategy of is the entity needs to have these both sides, the
mhm.
capacity to foresee the future, not the current business, and the changes of that. For example, in the case of World Vision, our main product is sponsorship or children sponsorship. Uh, but the results is not good because the people change and
Yeah.
now. But it's a problem with the product. The problem is in the market. The problem is in what part of the process.
Mm,
I believe that the problem is about how we foresee the new generations, the new ways that we connect with these people. And it's about sponsorship, not necessarily. It's about the way that we connect. And this is the first, how we can foresee the future and the connection with the product if it is possible.
mm.
Um, Another kind of obstacle that I foresee is lack of purpose or direction. If we are trying to raise more money or to have more impact, but we don't have a clear purpose, we have the problem is in the why.
Mm.
And we can have a lot of ideas that not work. And I connect that with the second one that you mentioned about prototypes.
Yeah.
Is the main capacity of innovators is not to create prototypes, is to create prototypes that have the possibility to test in the correct way and to have the learnings during the process.
Mm.
Test fast and fail quick
Mhm.
is my mantra around this.
Mm.
Because you don't have the possibility in this world to test for years and
No.
then you receive the bad news. You invest a lot of money, you don't have the results, and the capacity to innovate we will reduce in the entity because you don't have the trust of the people to say you are looking for a good new future.
I see.
And because of that, we need to connect. It's
Mm.
the prototype with quick test.
Quick test. Yeah. By the way, is it fair to say that your interest in innovation is primarily focused on programmatic innovation, or are you also doing work on innovation in, let's say, the strategy or the structure or the people side or the processes and systems of your part of World Vision?
Well, I work in all these parts
All of them.
because I need to foresee all the components. how we receive the money, how we connect that with processes that are connected with impact, and how we connect marketing with that to
Mm.
make results at the end. All the innovation process occurs in each part of the process. You don't have the possibility, from my perspective, to create innovation in insulate room. You
Mm.
need to connect with all the people. And innovation is about conversations, it's about ideas, and it's about structure and processes. All the things are connected.
Are connected. Yeah. Let me mention a couple of other obstacles that other innovation specialists have mentioned to me is that nonprofits can have a hard time not with that they don't remove old processes when introducing innovation. That in other words, you have the old processes or systems, right? Or programmatic models remaining while the new stuff is being experimented with. And sometimes it leads to too many coexisting. The old ways and the new ways keep coexisting, keep both existing, and that can cause a problem. That's one thing. Um, Another one is, of course, hierarchical organizations. And World Vision, I don't know how hierarchical its culture is. So maybe you can comment on either of those two factors, hierarchy and organizational structure, and the other point that I mentioned about being too reluctant to remove old processes so that the new system just can't succeed.
Mhm. Well, when US go to the moon, they use a rocket. And the part of the rocket that launched in the moon was like this part of the rocket.
Yeah, a
It,
very small
it,
part.
exactly. And this is the main thing that we need to maintain in our behaviors and mindset. Not always all the process are part of the end product.
Mm-hmm.
It's only part,
Mm-hmm.
but it is useful in some part of the history, but not necessarily in the whole history. For example, you need to identify your DNA. It's not about a product, it's not about a structure, and it's not about a structure. It's about the human transformation that we want to produce as our vision.
Yeah.
If we do with one product or another product, or with one structure or another, is not the main thing. It's only the way that we do. Eh, with that in mind, I believe that in this new world, a new century, we need to abandon some is the old processes and some old structures that justify the way that we do the things in the past,
Yes. Yes.
and we need to move to the future. I believe this structure will be more modular, with more flexibility, with the different products, and something that I believe in this third sector is that we don't will have a star product as a 15 years. Este, I believe that we will have bubbles like a products. Something is to go to the market and then change, and we have another and another and another, because the people wants different things, but the DNA is the same: human transformation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Before we bring this recording to a close, Carlos, I do need to ask you more about leading of people, particularly at the senior level, leadership team that you are heading in Costa Rica and are a part of in Latin America for World Vision. So when you think about leadership teams and their habits, practices, and behaviors, if they want to stimulate innovation, what kind of habits, practices, and behaviors would you be looking for in that senior leadership team?
Well, from my perspective, culture of failure. It's okay to failure.
That's
It's
the
not a
first
problem.
thing.
Exactly. It's not a problem. It's part of the process.
Hmm.
Um, the second behavior is not to hold the past.
Not to hold
Eh,
on to the past.
exactly. We need to foresee the future opportunities and the way that we can adapt to these new kind of opportunities. Um, the third, we need to have an innovation budget. This not occurs from the air.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We need to invest and we need to have a clear metrics. Not to say we will have an innovation tomorrow at 2 p.m. It's not in that way, but we need to have the process that how we can create something, how we can test, how we can measure the results, and how we can stop because it's not a good idea. And because I love the idea, it's not a good idea.
Yeah, that's not enough reason, right? Yeah, and so
Exactly,
that's what I observe is we get too attached. It's a human thing, it's a normal thing, right? But we get too attached to certain programmatic innovation ideas or organizational change ideas, and we don't want to let go when they don't work, right? Our attachments
exactly.
are very, very strong. Um, what are some, if you think about your senior team in Costa Rica for World Vision, what are some behaviors that you would like to, that you think you as a CEO need to hold people accountable for in order to promote innovation in World Vision in Costa Rica?
Yes, all the ideas are good. We need to test it. The second is we need to maintain the motivation of the whole team with the correct spaces. For example, I is to have some is the meetings that the main topic is to talk about us. It's not about to talk the work. It's about to talk from our personal experiences.
Mm,
Because if we want to construct innovation, we need to construct the team. And the team is not only in the part of the work, is the whole thing. It's about people.
mhm.
It's about the human being
Yeah,
as a total.
yeah.
And the third thing that I believe that it is important is we are an example for all. It is impossible to say you need to innovate, but I don't have
I'm
any
direct that.
idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, oh,
It's
you're saying we need to model.
exactly. We
Okay.
need to model.
So, in other words, show that we ourselves uh, are willing to change and to innovate, right? And try things out, get feedback, learn, etc. Because if we don't show that and take some risks, then others cannot be expected to do the same. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And the last part of this is it's not bad to be in the comfort zone, but it's bad if you maintain the comfort zone forever.
Hmm.
And you need to expand your comfort zone. And as a team, we are looking for each day to expand this comfort zone in different ways. Innovation is part of this. It's the
Hmm.
mindset to be in discomfort, but creating something that is in the learning zone or in the panic zone.
Hmm. Learning zone or panic zone?
Yes.
What's the panic zone?
When you don't have any answer, any product, any model, and you are in panic.
Yeah.
But this experience to be in this zone is critical for the team because it's the way that you need to think around and to say, well, my opportunities are now is in that way or in that way. I don't know if we'll work with that, but the deal is simple. If
Mm,
we maintain our position at now, we maintain the panic zone in the same position.
see. Yeah, yeah. Before I ask you the last question, I'm asking for a quick answer on a lot of people, um, I suspect, think that very hierarchical and very big organizations, so both big and hierarchical, are not very friendly for innovation cultures, right? Now,
Mhm.
World Vision is very big. I don't know at this moment. I have not been in touch with the organization for about 2 years, but would you describe World Vision as fairly hierarchical or not? And do you think that the fact that it's not very flat, it seems to me, is that at all an obstacle, or do you say no, you actually can stimulate innovation quite well in large and relatively hierarchically structured organizations?
Yes, it is totally possible to stimulate the innovation in hierarchical
Yeah.
organization. Eh, but the time is the problem. Because you will be slow down in the process.
Yeah.
Because you need to have all the stages, all the layers that we
Yeah.
need to have the approvals.
Yeah.
In my experience, the organizations that are more horizontal have more possibilities to have adaptation to the
Mm,
new context and the possibility to innovate more quickly
mm,
because they have the conversation at the same level or two or three layers only.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you have a lot of layers, could be a challenge, but it is possible to.
So how does World Vision then deal with this? Are you able to carve out like a protected space where some people are innovating and are given a little bit of time and resources and they are protected from the usual bureaucratic structures? Is that how you do it, or how do you do it?
Yes, in international terms, we have an innovation area that are the constructing and it's the challenging all the national offices around the world to innovate.
Hmm.
And this is a good way to construct this innovation. And we have great results in a large structure and hierarchical structure, we have results. In terms of World Vision Costa Rica, I prefer a flat organization, horizontal,
Hmm.
because the adaptation and flexibility is more quickly. And
Yeah.
it is possible to have both in our organization
Yeah.
because we have the possibility to report and we have the possibility to construct in a flat organization here in Costa Rica.
Got it. Got it. That makes sense. There's so much more, Carlos, that I wish we could talk about, but we do have to bring this to a close. So my last question to you, as always, is where people who are saying, wow, he's really interesting to learn more from Carlos's experience with stimulating innovation, where should they go to find out about you, and where do you do your writing on innovation, and where should people go for world vision and innovation?
Well, could be in LinkedIn
Hmm.
is my profile and my blog is connected to LinkedIn.
Oh,
And it is totally possible to have connection and to share some email to talk and all the things.
mhm.
And in World Vision, it is possible to foresee all our job. our work around the world and in Costa Rica in terms of innovation.
Okay, so that's all through your Costa Rica website, for instance. That's accessible for people. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I better start following your newsletter on LinkedIn as well. I'm gonna double check whether I've done that. Well, thank you so much, Carlos, for all your insights. I've just been so intrigued and enthusiastic about listening to you, not just today, but also in our past conversations. I think you're an important thinker and doer when it comes to innovation. So I hope, listeners, that you found this podcast stimulating. Be sure to check out other episodes in the podcast that are interviews with, as I said, innovation coaches and leaders of other big and sometimes mid-sized NGOs that have led innovation and have reflected on what it takes to stimulate innovation. It's still not too late to subscribe to the podcast and to be the first to know about upcoming episodes. And with that, I am saying see you next time on NGO Soul and Strategy when we have more dynamite episodes still coming up.